в окне.
Ах. Red gonna fast.
Gotta go fast. Кчау! Я молния. Бррр, чё? Ай, чё кусаешься? Пидор, блять. Хуйня шерстяная.
А мы, по идее, с Андреем завтра когти будем обрезать и вельзи мыть.
Меня кот жрет, сидит.
Нормально. Ой, блядь, чувствую, завтра жопа будет. Его мыть невозможно.
Не любит?
Да ни один, ни второй не любит мыться.
Ну, мне кот просто орет, ему похер. Что тогда было, когда он был маленький, что сейчас. То есть ты просто его держишь, моешь, он а сам даже не двигается. Вот такая вот у него особенность.
Нет, что ты делаешь?
Да, он, блядь.
Что он делает? Что делает?
Зачем ты, блядь, заделывает эту хрень?
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm new here.
I've already heard about you, Dr. Reed. I'm Milton Hooks, the ambulance driver for this shithole of a hospital.
That's quite a blunt
Что он
introduction.
делает, на самом
You
деле?
can call me Milton. I like to speak my mind, Dr. Reed. Perk of the job. Don't judge me, and I won't judge you.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
Well, I'm no doctor, but I'm pretty sure a gun can't be used as a surgical instrument.
You have a keen eye. I learned to shoot during the war and have carried one ever since. Old habits die hard.
No need
Granata!
to explain, Dr. Reed. And if you ever need a better gun, remember, I may have something for you.
Вражеский элави.
SMG mounted and loaded.
How is the situation around here?
You want to hear the situation?
Граната,
is all
блядь,
right.
граната,
It's fucking
граната.
awful. We lack everything, and it's getting worse every day.
Are you really smuggling weapons through the hospital?
And why not? I've already been attacked by patients, you know. And by gang members willing to steal my money.
But you're not defending yourself. You're selling guns to civilians.
You keep people alive your own way, Doctor. I offer them another way to protect their health.
Блять,
So what do you do
нас
exactly
обоих
on this
положили.
hospital? Apart from smuggling guns, I mean.
I've been an ambulance driver since... too long, I
Блин,
guess.
в этой вампуре еще используется такой, знаете, вот
It's a dirty job,
а,
but I get it done.
сложный лондонский английский, когда персонажи говорят, знаете,
Fucking laser, кстати.
фокен, да, вот на
Do you
этом
need any
уровне.
medical help, Milton?
I'm fine, Doc. Physically, at least. But I would give everything to be in a better place right now.
Да ёб твою мать.
Че, серьезно?
Ага. Я не заметил.
Goodbye, Milton.
Люк.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still
Молодец.
trying to save
Это было
lives.
плохо, но ладно.
I'd like to see
Это
you.
было ужасно.
Wise choice, Dr. Reed.
А, ты про это? Да не, нормально.
Нормально, нормально, паскуда тварь, нормально, нормально, паскуда тварь.
О, бля, смотрите на меня, блядь. Я на коне,
Полицай.
нахуй.
Посмотреть на своего мужчину и снова на меня, да, я на коне.
Да, только Мира не мужчина, ну ладно.
Да, долго ли там? Не забывай, в каком году мы живем. Так, нет, я буду проходить вампура исключительно на человеческой основе. Нахуй вампиризм.
Не, пошли без рейтинга. Он поинтереснее будет. Кстати, ты какого там уровня уже?
30.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. The new surgeon.
20
Какой-то
уровень.
Еще
долг,
20
я.
левелов.
Swansea has already told us about you, sir.
Не
I'm
осталось,
nurse
блин, 3
Bonnie
рейтинг выигрыш.
Welcome to the Penguin.
Did he really? It's a good thing I wasn't hoping to keep a low profile.
All members of
О,
staff have already
быстрее нашло,
recognized
чем
your new
быструю
blood
игру.
transfusion technique.
Охуенно.
Dr. Swansea made sure of that.
I see. Well, I'm
Кстати говоря, я еще заметил,
but I suppose I'll just
Oh.
have to deal
там
with
еще в
this.
интернете нашел в видосах. При выборе бана карты, если все банят одну карту, выбирается левая карта
He
из
is
двух.
convinced it is the future.
А чё так?
Давай виллу.
Не знаю.
Бан виллу.
How are things here?
Not
Ну, по
good.
крайней мере... Смотри, сейчас шале.
Хаяля.
Bullet from a gun. It's
Я
hard.
кота по жопе хлоп.
Видишь?
An invisible enemy. Quite a poetic term.
Юбики говорят, что это вроде как пофиксит, но...
Sorry, Doctor.
Чего не выбираю, выбьется пизно левая.
We could all do with a good night's sleep.
Кого баним? Да ладно, ты чё,
Do you
серьезно?
think this hospital can
Я не
survive
знаю,
the
ну...
epidemic?
Да, в
We are
принципе,
all
да.
volunteers.
Имеет смысл тысячу.
Some nurses have already
Кого в
resigned.
обороне-то банить? Либо...
I'm not familiar with
Мьюта,
all the
наверное,
stuff
лучше будет. Либо
Perhaps you could
Мьюта,
help.
либо
Brilliant
Каида,
professionals.
либо
Most of them.
Бандита.
Dr. Swansea has a gift
Либо
for
Каида, либо
recruiting talent.
Мьюта.
Most.
Одно из двух.
Is there a problem I should know about, nurse?
It would be inappropriate for me to speak ill of a
Сейчас кто
colleague.
будет? Кавера или же Клэш? Как ты думаешь?
Is there anyone
Clash.
that stands out?
Well, I have never met someone as dedicated as Dr. Tippett. He should be a standard for his
Серьёзно?
world.
Эхо?
If only he were
Интересный
younger.
выбор.
Why should his age be a problem?
I guess it's fair to say
бандитом,
he's
может быть?
always pushing himself
Да,
to
они
the
играют в
limits.
радугу, а мне
He just
просто,
doesn't
ну...
know when to
Давай
stop.
Мьюта, наверное, все-таки. А один Кавера будет. Я понял вас.
Nurse Brannigan, if
Паршиво,
you
когда
do
мы в
know
menьшинстве.
something, please tell me. Anything you say will be
Чувствуешь,
held
как
up.
тяжело ЛГБТ-сообщество?
I may disagree with some conduct, but in the end, everybody is doing their best.
Вот, смотрите новую публикацию.
Филджин, кстати, 17-го открывает набор.
Do you require medical assistance, nurse?
Thank you for your
No,
concern,
no.
but I'm fine.
Goodbye, nurse. Call me if you need assistance.
Бандиты Каид.
Хотя
Всё
да,
наэлектризует.
ну нахуй, в принципе.
Dr. Swansea is right. This place seems
Нахуй
perfect
двоих.
to conduct my research.
Как
Заметь,
много
тут еще мьют
больных.
ведь.
Чего еще раз?
Тут мьют еще, видишь, есть.
Не, мне то я
Нас-
создали.
Кстати, на участке коронавирусных нашли.
А у нас уже Ставрополь закрыл границу с Краснодаром, все, теперь туда не заехать.
Good evening, nurse.
Good evening, Doctor. I don't think we've been introduced yet. My name is Pippa Hawkins.
And I'm Dr.
Пипа.
Jonathan Reed.
Это имя.
Dr. Swansea has recently
Пипа.
offered me
Её
a
зовут
position
Пипа.
in this hospital.
Well, it's a euphemism that your help will be appreciated, Doctor.
How would you describe the
Погоди, а где
situation at
Лёба?
Pembroke Hospital?
А, вот.
It's serious. The flu is wreaking havoc amongst the staff and patients. We are running out of everything.
You must get a hold of yourself, nurse.
Sorry, I'm exhausted. No one has
Блядь.
any idea when
Я
this
из-за
epidemic will
переделки
be over.
шале уже не знаю, где тут.
Nurse Hawkins, the
Да
Spanish
твою мать,
flu
блядь.
won't last forever. Even the Black Plague didn't kill everyone.
I wish I could believe you.
Из разряда.
But
Я
what
только
if
это
this epidemic
говно.
was worse? What if in the end, nobody was spared?
How long have you been a nurse?
Well, long enough to see that the epidemic is winning. And no matter how qualified you are, don't tell me you'll change that.
You're right. When dealing with such a terrible disease, one must remain humble. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try our best.
Sorry, Doctor. I don't want to sound bitter, but I'm just too tired to give a pep talk like Nurse
А мы
Brannigan.
тут стреляемся.
How is the Pembroke staff coping with the epidemic?
Well, not well. Milton, the ambulance driver, is even more grumpy than usual, especially concerning doctors.
Why does Milton
Мог
dislike
пугливее
doctors?
заделывать.
I don't know. Just ask him. But be warned, Milton is not the chatty type.
Блин, мне нужна подсказка
Why
про
is
этого
Milton
Милтона. Я
grumpy
хочу его
on a
сожрать.
daily basis? Is it just an act?
Все,
Milton's not
играем
the kind
без
of man who's
вампиризма.
bothered about a bad reputation.
Да, блин, он меня
Whether
просто
he
бесит.
deserved it
Тем
or
более он
not.
черный. Он должен умереть первым. Хотя по факту первой умерла сестра главного героя. Он ее и сожрал, в принципе.
А, сука, на втором этаже Нок и на первом этаже Янг. И Йинг, насрать вообще.
Милтон, у меня есть к тебе интересное предложение. И вопрос, ты пидорас или педофил?
Good evening.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
Мне, кстати, дизайн главного героя очень нравится.
Why
That's
do you have
her-
such a
her place.
mediocre reputation
Номад
among
на
your colleagues,
лестнице
Milton?
Fuck them.
ушла.
Nobody knows the horrors I've seen
Она
since
где-то
working
над
here.
Б.
This city was sick long before the epidemic, Dr. Reed.
I know it's a difficult task, but correct me if I'm wrong. Is this not the job you are paid to do?
I've seen babies left to die while their brothers were properly fed. Underage girls and boys sold to all manner of perverts.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Че нашим на
Exact
миссии
words.
сидит, да?
So excuse me if I don't look on the bright side of life.
So what do you do exactly?
Это не у нас 15 секунд, это у них.
I've been an
Ну я знаю, поэтому говорю.
Since you're on the front
что
line, how is the sanitary situation in this vicinity?
It's a complete
Not bad.
disaster. It's even getting dangerous to enter some streets or buildings. Even the locals attack you.
It sounds like things have been a bit rough recently. What's happened?
Yesterday I got attacked by the patient I was bringing in. I escaped through the hospital's garden, but I lost my wallet when I was running.
You left an infected patient outside the hospital. That's incredibly dangerous.
Go there yourself if you want, but be careful, Doctor. I'd rather not bring your dead body back.
Опа, расследование. Расследования, которые вам доверяют горожане, рассортированы по районам. Чтобы приступить к заданию, выберите его. Милтон.
Я хочу тебя сожрать.
Да, поэтому я пошел проходить задание. Милтон, я тебя понял. Скоро я тебя сожру.
Goodbye, Milton.
Погоди, а тот же здесь где-то было... Я потерялся.
Что было?
А, во, нашел.
Не, мне все-таки, блин, дизайн главного героя очень нравится. Я прям смотрю на него и, блин, ну, за него приятно играть. Несмотря на анимацию бега, который выглядит так, как будто он обосрался, вот честно. Выглядит он стильно, типа вот сам костюм, сам внешний вид у персонажа, он, ну... Он как бы одновременно и вызывает уважение и какой-то такой, непонятный страх такой, что типа, блядь, ну что-то тут не то.
Охуеть!
Чё-то
Ты еще хэт сняли, ничего себе.
Ага, она вниз головы висела. В окне. Че, все? Закончилось стрим? Ну, хорошо.
Какой стрим?
Что сказал?
Scowl voices in the garden.
А,
I should investigate. If they were to find somebody.
Чтобы все на капканах, наверное.
Она до сих пор все это время висела в этом окне? Серьезно?
Да.
Пиздос.
Это Алина Вампур, которую я хотел очень давно, но ее по плюсу раздали.
Шампур?
Угу.
Ей, шампур. Даешь шампур. Чё такое, Локи? Чё случилось? Чё?
Да хозяин у
Хватит?
меня дебил, не знаю, как жить с этим. Ух ты, блядь, сразу два. Хуя себе.
Кстати, насчет Хача и Адама. В смысле, блядь?
Блядь, слупок какой-то.
Я забыл просто.
Так, окей. Съебись, туман.
Нарисуй краба Себастьяна, не нарисовай.
И Себастьян. Да ёбаный в рот, а. Как же любит подную гранату.
Да, это та, про которую я говорил, где главный герой стал вампиром и пытается разобраться, кто его заразил.
Адам, а ты брони взял?
Да-да-да.
Окно это сломали.
Все, Кали убрал. Больше не висит.
Блин, паршиво, что вот этот люк сломали, конечно, ну ладно.
So, Mr. Hooks and Nurse Hawkins are an item. Those two have hidden their affections well.
Зря вылезла дура. Там еще один есть. На улице. Нет, еще один я видел.
Сколько же там?
Good evening, miss. I'm Dr. Reed, the new surgeon at the Pembroke Hospital. And who are you?
Your name has no
Блядь,
meaning
сзади
to me,
меня.
mortal.
Просто
You're
за
nothing
тебя.
but dust
А,
blown
понял.
by the winds of
Понял,
eternity.
понял.
I beg your pardon?
What are you begging for, mortal? My clemency? Well, tonight maybe I'm inclined to mercy. You'll never forget the night you met Thelma Howcroft.
Там.
You keep calling me
Адам,
mortal.
Прям возле
еще если тебя не
деревьев.
поднимут,
And if I'm
надо
mortal,
что добьют.
what are you?
Well, Dr. Reed, if you must know, I'm a vampire.
Угу. Ну да, теперь я общаюсь с шизанутой.
And why do you believe you're a vampire?
I don't need to believe
Смотри, тебя
anything.
подняли.
It is what I am. It is what I feel within this hollow shell of flesh.
Молодец, Адам.
Please,
Там еще Зофи где-то бегала,
describe
да?
to me how you feel.
Я вообще не видел ее.
To be a vampire.
Меня Зофи просто
Here
убила.
my
Я
body
не знаю,
crumble
убили
from the
ее или
inside
нет.
as my flesh cracks and
Она
fades.
где-то здесь.
I sense the last pulse of postulant blood within
Сверху.
my
А вот
dying
и Зофия.
veins. I need new blood.
Не вылази.
I see.
Я думал, сверху, кстати, люк этот.
Have you ever heard of
Закрыт.
Cotard's syndrome, Miss Howcroft?
Never.
А я
It's a
сейчас могу...
mental
Да
illness
смотришь,
discovered
придурок.
by a French neurologist named Jules Cottard. The affected patients are delusional. They believe that they are putrefied.
Слева, придурок!
Dead, a ghost or a ghoul.
Молодец.
Or in your case, a vampire.
Delusional, you say? Oh, sad and petty mortal. You can't even begin to
Как он её
understand
там
the
не видел
concept of
изначально?
immortality. And you think it is
Oh,
I
yeah.
who am delusional.
I'm assuming you must be a patient here. Am I right, Miss Howard?
Где мой
It's
любимый
only a
костер?
cover.
Да, хочу.
I can leave whenever I want.
Хочу
As a
туда.
woman, a spirit, fog, or
Возьму-ка
bat.
я его. Да.
Who are these enemies you mentioned? Can you describe them?
I cannot say for sure. But I sense their eyes on me from nearby. I feel them
Завтра,
watching
по
me every time I
идее,
visit the
девушка
garden near
брата
the morgue.
приезжает. Мне так хорошо было.
The staff here are not your enemy. They're here to help you, to care for you.
I'm not speaking of the doctors in white. I'm speaking of the men and women who hunt me. For I am a vampire.
I see. Don't worry. These people will not find you here. I'll personally make sure they leave you alone.
Thank you, mortal. But do not interfere with them, for you are no match for those that hunt me.
Do you require my services, Miss Howcroft?
I have no need for your medicine, Dr. Reed. Blood is the only drug I
У них
need.
мози.
I'll leave you, Mistress of the Dark, to your nocturnal activities.
Ой.
У них и бандит есть.
Ёбаная ты шизофреничка, блять.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still trying to save lives?
I have some
Нормально
good
не
news.
удастся.
Milton.
What? The epidemic's over?
I retrieved your wallet with all the money and
Давай здесь.
a
Давай.
certain picture.
Well, yeah, Heather Hawkins is my girl. So what? Is it the difference of skin colour that bothers you?
Not at all, Milton.
Good. Please, take this money anyway. To remind you to keep your mouth shut. Not everybody is as broad-minded as you, Dr. Reed.
А, молодец, Оля. Что это было? А,
What's
Люся?
going on between you and Nurse Hawkins?
Pippa's tired.
Блять, мне там не
Tired
пробиться.
of all this shit.
Погоди.
Tired of all those corpses piling
Там
up.
одна, что ли, заделана?
She's as
Погоди.
depressed as I am.
Да, одна. Ты же сказал, что сделала.
During the war, I witnessed a few couples just like you come together in difficult circumstances. It
Нормально.
can be very damaging.
Я вторую
Maybe you're
сломал.
right. But we support each other. And that's all that matters.
You do realize you could both get fired. Hospital staff are not meant to have intimate relationships with one another.
Come on, Dr. Reed. Do you know how many rules are broken in this hospital every day just to keep it running?
Ну вот он там
There's
сидит,
nothing wrong with
засранец.
what we're doing.
Да, я видел. Я могу гранату туда
Чё
закинуть?
такое, мам?
Закинись, получится.
Конечно, очень вкусная. Ой, слушай, а можно у тебя водички попросить? Там у меня бутылочка лежит. Не мне впадло вставать.
Goodbye, Milton.
Охуенно.
Могу попросить?
Он убежал оттуда,
Да
походу.
ему и так не холодно.
Я не видел, что он убивал. Не, он там еще сидит, сука. Лежит.
Там сидит?
Да, там же. Я просто не видел, чтобы он оттуда убегал, поэтому... Я думал, его возьму, но...
Good evening, Nurse Hawkins.
Good evening, Dr. Reed.
Вот сейчас Пипа охереет, когда я ей скажу про отношения с этим... С
Проверь,
Милтоном.
проверь.
I know you're very close to
Бля.
Milton Hooks.
Yes? Milton Hooks is my man.
Обидка ебаная.
If you want to report me for that, just feel free,
А кто?
Doctor.
Мози
I have
каким
no
образом оттуда
intention of
выбежал?
reporting you, Nurse Hawkins. But are you aware of
Не
the
знаю.
risks?
The rules say I won't be allowed to work as a nurse
Он же там
anymore.
сидел.
But here at the Pembroke, we break rules
Где?
all the time.
Is he worth the risk?
Ну,
Hey,
вот за этими
I'm no
ящиками. Или это не
Нет,
Мози
там
был?
сидит-
and
Still
Milton is not
бандит.
the finest bloke.
А, мне
But we
почему-то
do our
казалось,
best
что
to get
Мози.
by.
Из-за шлемака, мне
That's
кажется.
all any of us can hope for nowadays.
Нет, там бандит сидел.
Goodbye, Nurse Hawkins.
Спасибо большое. Положи, да.
Пожалуйста. Обращайся. Так, они подвал уже точно не возьмут, потому что они выиграли.
Мне кажется, второй этаж.
Смотри, второй я кухню проверю.
Да, второй.
Блять, тут лестница раньше была, но ебаный в рот, сука. Ноп.
Блин, это ведь шизофреничка реально о чем-то вампира мне напоминает. Может быть, она действительно вампир?
И Virgil. А.
Good evening, sir.
Она и бледнее,
Can I
чем
help you?
обычные
Unless you're here
люди.
to fix my face. No. I don't think you can help me.
I'm Dr. Reed. I've recently taken the position of head surgeon here. War injuries, am I right?
You guessed right, Doctor. German shell took my
Вас не
pretty
надо
little
кости?
mug right off.
Я знаю, что не надо.
They still
Но
call
надо.
me Thomas Elwood.
Ну, погнали. Слеповая у тебя есть вообще? Я не знаю, что у тебя за...
Да, есть.
Soldier, do you
Good day.
need assistance?
I'm fine. Just
You
do
know.
something for this pain, will you?
Ah!
That's all I'm asking.
Гондон штопанный. В углу
How is
сидел
your stay with
гондон.
us, Mr. Elwood?
Oh, it's bliss.
На лестнице Virgil.
I just escaped death in the trenches to be surrounded again by the moans of the dying.
Can I ask you precisely why you're a patient here?
It's the pain, sir. The drugs don't work. It just hurts under the scars. If you get my drift.
Can I do anything for your pain?
Nurses gave me a bunch of pills. No effect.
Ёбованный ты Мози.
It's like the flames are under my skin, burning away.
Пам.
Who is treating you? Is someone in
Я
particular?
чувствую, что в какой-то момент
Nobody
Костю
since
там
the old and tired doctor
на
spoke
любом
to
из
me.
стрим-серверсов забанят.
Started to think I was forgotten about.
Что? Стоп, Костя сейчас
Don't
говорит.
blame you.
You don't seem worried.
Я сейчас молчу.
My face
Ah.
hurts so much more when I
Сейчас
smile
слышно
or
меня?
cry.
Да, да,
I've
да, да, да.
learned it's easier
Я просто
not
к чему
to
это
speak.
говорю? К тому, что
But be assured
у нас
I'm
маты-перематы
smiling
довольно
inside.
частенько идут, поэтому... Как то? Так.
Ёбованный это не мат.
А ёбаный гондон
Where
это
were you
мат.
stationed, sir? Did you serve for long?
Сказал не
I
штопанный.
really don't
А
want to
гандон
talk about all
это
this shit.
другое
No
название
offense.
презерватива.
I
Это
was
всё
pushing
легально.
too much. I served in
Книга,
France
блин.
myself. I just wanted to know what happened.
You were an
О, у
officer,
тебя еще и
weren't
этот.
you? Then I doubt
Деактиватор.
we fought the same war, sir.
Да, блять, вы рофлите.
No offense.
Я же тут сольюсь. Каков же путь активатора?
How close are you to Miss Horcroft? Are you aware that she thinks she is a vampire?
Ладно.
To wait for her
Вот в
next
этот раз
nibble
они,
is the
скорее
best
всего,
reason to stay
да?
here. Every time she approaches my bed, she treats me like something tasty. A normal person.
Ах,
Aren't you
ёбаный
afraid?
Мози.
She may hurt you
Извиняюсь.
if the game goes too
Вот,
far.
кстати, ёбаный,
She's
это
quite
же
harmless,
все-таки...
I can assure you. Her head's broken
Нихуалька
inside,
есть
is
еще.
all. While I'm busted on the outside. But she's still beautiful. Living proof that there's hope for me.
Что, он равно слили тоже или Мози взял?
So
Yeah,
do you let
slowly.
her bite you? You know that's not sanitary.
And why not? She's only
Ладно.
supping a few drops of my blood. The pain,
Я вас
it's
понял.
real for once.
Так, это ж
Давай,
это
разбирай.
шизофреничка реально кусает людей.
Willing patients.
Разбивай
And it's
и...
another good reason
Ходи.
for me to stay here, Doctor.
Так, блядь, мне тут не нравится, она реально
You do
людей
realize
кусает.
she's mentally disturbed. It's called the Cotard syndrome. She truly believes she
Слушай,
Да,
я видел
это
Вальку,
реально.
которая на
Madness.
второй этаж вроде собиралась,
She never
но я не
refers to
знаю.
my scars.
Валька может на втором этаже быть.
And frankly,
Давай проверим.
if I could,
Можно вообще на второй этаж?
Нет.
I'd join her world.
А в
Ну вот с этой
забрасу?
стороны.
It seems much more fun
А
than the
вот.
real one.
А стекло здесь бьется? Нет.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Elwood.
Так, ебучий шизоид, иди сюда, ты чё, блядь, людей кусаешь? Тут вампир, только я могу людей кусать.
Good evening, Miss Howard. How are you tonight?
I need blood, Doctor. Warm, rich, vibrant blood.
Там еще кто-то.
I'm assuming you must be.
Палька, блядь, на лестнице.
Am I right,
Нету.
Miss Howard?
It's only a cover.
Рядом кину.
Tell me, Thelma, why do you feel so attached to Mr.
Ой,
Why?
прям на мне.
I'm not sure, Doctor.
Кстати, фуловый.
I think we have a...
Так, сейчас, блин, мне надо из тусовки выйти ненадолго. Сейчас я.
bond of some sort. We've both suffered so much. He's the only mortal I find interesting.
Do you plan to make him a vampire too?
Of course not. How could I inflict my curse on anybody else? I'm not that.
Would you say you and Mr. Elwood are romantically involved?
No. No, Thomas is a delicate soul. Even though he disguises it. But I am not the woman he needs. No, for I am a vampire, Doctor.
Who are you really, Miss Howcroft? I mean, apart from being a vampire.
Is that not enough for you, puny mortal? What do you require? Proof of my powers?
I'm curious to know who you were before becoming a vampire.
It was such a long time ago, I don't remember. Centuries of unholy life can have strange effects on one's minds, you see?
I'll leave you, mistress of the...
I need my medicine.
Further your agenda, sir.
How long's it going to take to fix me properly? A month? A year?
You have the right to disapprove of our methods, and you will kindly apologize when you're feeling better.
Oh.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. May I help you?
I don't know if a third opinion is needed. Your colleagues are already arguing about my condition.
I see. Would you mind telling me more about your situation?
I'm Harvey Fiddick. All I want is to get me bloody arm fixed properly.
Tell me about the doctors who are arguing about your case.
Strickland and Aykroyd. They both want the best for me, but there's a lot of pride there. Doctors are no different from carpenters, it seems.
What do you mean?
I often had professional arguments with rivals on a building site. Difference is, I disagreed about wooden nails, not flesh and bones.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Fiddick.
I'm just a regular guy waiting to get his arm fixed, so I can return to work and to my family.
I was more curious about what you were doing before being hospitalized.
I'm a carpenter, and a good one too. But that means I need both arms to feed my family, Dr. Reed.
Are you satisfied with your treatment here?
Well, it's clear that I've chosen a bad time to be injured. Forgive my bluntness, but you seem overwhelmed by cases of the flu.
I won't lie to you about it. I'm afraid we are.
Are you sure you don't want to operate yourself, Dr. Reed? I have the feeling you're very capable. And your colleagues seem to think so too.
In other circumstances, you would be right. But for now, I don't think I can take on the responsibility. My apologies. Is there anything else that's bothering you? Can I help in any way?
I'm all right. Considering the state of this place, I should consider myself lucky, I guess.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick. I'll see you later.
Sweet girl. Reads me like a book.
Good evening, sir.
Never could.
What can I do for you, Doctor?
Thank you, Nurse Crane. Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. I believe we're going to be colleagues.
Reed? Yes, I've been informed about your arrival. I'm Waverly Ackroyd. Welcome aboard, I suppose.
Does my arrival inconvenience you in some way, Dr. Ackroyd?
Let us just say that I don't particularly share Dr. Swansea's enthusiasm for hiring you. What we need here are reliable professionals, not overrated dabblers.
If you have a problem with me, Dr. Ackroyd, please feel free to tell me.
Dr. Swansea has imposed your presence on this hospital without asking anyone's advice. The benefit of his position. But I don't agree with it.
I know we've never met before, but I believe this hospital could use all the help it can get. You will agree with that, I'm sure.
Oh, but I have heard about you, Dr. Reed. Of course, you can't say the same about me, since I have not wasted my time courting the press.
There is no need for such animosity between us. Don't you think the epidemic is already enough to deal with?
That is one point we could agree on. And that is precisely why I want to be sure that you will be of help to this hospital, instead of a burden.
Since your tenure in this hospital is longer than mine, perhaps you can tell me more about this place.
Let's just say I'm tired of the carelessness around me. I have always respected the skills of Dr. Swansea, but over time his enthusiasm has become displaced.
Carelessness? Exactly what are you talking about?
We're here to save lives. The people who trust us are not volunteering for experimentation. They're here to be healed.
I don't intend to run any radical experiments, Doctor. Even if I, as any good practitioner should, express an interest in pushing the boundaries of medical research.
Modern medical methods were created through audacity and ego. But there are rules in our line of work, and they're here to protect our patients.
I don't know what you've heard about me, but I have already proved my value as a practitioner.
I don't question your skills, Dr. Reed, but your motive. Is it money, fame, or are you truly dedicated?
And what exactly is that supposed to mean?
I served in the war just like you. But unlike you, I did not use the wounded to play the modern sorcerer.
Be careful what you insinuate, Dr. Ackroyd.
I only want you to admit you used those men to improve your theories.
Knowledge has always been and will remain our main weapon, and it has always come at a price. And personal initiative.
It is not a question of initiative, it is a question of integrity. These men and women have put their faith in us, Dr. Reed.
It seems you have bad memories of your military service.
I refuse to see this industrial slaughter as scientific progress. War only reveals the worst in men.
We can at least agree on something, Dr. Ackroyd. Thank you for your time. We'll talk later. Good evening, Doctor. I believe we're going to be working together.
Dr. Reed,
Dr. Swansea informed us of your arrival, but I could not dare to believe we'd have such good fortune. Such an honor, sir.
Thank you. And you are?
I am Thoreau Strickland, Dr. Thoreau Strickland. I'm a great admirer of your work, Dr. Reed.
What can you tell me about the Pembroke?
Well, it has always been an honor to work with Dr. Swansea. But with your arrival, I can't think of a better opportunity to learn about blood transfusion.
Do you need help with anything in particular?
Well, yes, maybe. I'm waiting for a batch of products I ordered for my personal research, yet my supplier seems to have vanished.
Do you want me to play the errand boy for you?
Oh no, Dr. Reed. But if you went personally to his shop, what with your reputation and all, he wouldn't dare to refuse the products I need.
I see. Well, give me the address, for I may pass by if I have time. You seem quite optimistic. It's a rare and precious attitude in these difficult times.
I'm convinced that this epidemic is a test of endurance and dedication for us men of science.
Questions remain about our capacity to resolve the situation.
True. Last summer, during the first wave of the epidemic, I used to joke with Milton about the extra work. We're not smiling now.
Please, could you tell me something about yourself?
I'm a great admirer of your work concerning blood transfusion, Dr. Reed. I run my own experiments. I'm convinced it's the future.
I based my technique on my mentor's research. He helped me perfect my method. What is yours?
I'd rather not talk about it. For now, it's just theories and first approach. My process is purely experimental and unsuccessful.
As long as you're cautious and methodical, you may remain empty-handed, but you won't fail.
You're not the first one to warn me, but I am convinced knowledge is the main weapon against the ravages of this epidemic.
What made you choose to be a doctor?
I'm not ashamed to admit you and your work have inspired me. I am honored to have the opportunity to work by your side.
It's always a pleasure to share scientific and medical knowledge with someone eager to learn. I'll be glad to help you if I can.
This epidemic may be the century's most terrible disaster, but I'm convinced that we, as doctors, are the only ones able to defeat it.
What do you think of Dr. Ackroyd's aversion to modern medical methods?
It's a shame he's so narrow-minded. Dr. Swansea taught me that science is about exploring uncharted territory. I'm convinced that's true.
With the influenza and all that's going on, you should put your differences aside, don't you think? Why is it so difficult to work together?
I believe that if Dr. Ackroyd had been the one to discover the transfusion process, he would be the first to recommend its use.
So you believe it's just a question of jealousy and pride?
Dr. Ackroyd is as proud as he is blinded by his obsolete concept of medical science.
Tell me more about your willingness to experiment with new medical techniques.
Harvey Fiddick is a patient suffering from a severe injury that could cripple him if not treated correctly. I'm convinced your blood transfusion technique could help him.
What is it you really want? To save him? Or to prove your point?
Fair question. I want nothing but to save my patient, Dr. Reed. Especially since I know Mr. Fiddick's story.
Tell me Mr. Fiddick's story.
Our first diagnosis was compromised because Mr. Fiddick lied to us about the real origin of his injury. He first claimed it was an accident.
But why would he hide such crucial information from us?
Because he is a proud father, ashamed of putting his children at risk because of his own negligence.
This personal involvement could also appear to be a lack of impartiality. You must know that a good surgeon must remain neutral.
I agree. But that does not excuse Dr. Ackroyd's behavior, a man who did not even take time to converse with his patient.
Do you think keeping his distance was a mistake?
All I know is that I'm taking care of human beings, with desires, hopes and fears. Not some biological machine comprised of blood, bones and flesh.
Goodbye, Dr. Strickland.
But in the circumstances, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt.
I'm quite busy right now,
Tell me, Waverly, what do you think of Dr. Strickland's enthusiasm for his experimental research?
Strickland is playing with his patients' lives for pride and glory. Now that, sir, is unethical.
Are you thinking about something in particular?
Harvey Fiddick needs delicate surgery. I believe we should stick to the usual procedure, but my young colleague obviously disagrees.
And are you not afraid that your rivalry with Strickland may be blinding you?
Rivalry? I guess you could call it that. But I will never be childish enough to let my personal feelings affect my judgment.
Why do you wish to lead this surgery?
I strongly believe that Mr. Fiddick should not be butchered to test an unproven procedure.
If you are going to lead this surgery, I'm trusting you to assume the consequences of your actions, whatever the result.
I'm not the kind of man who runs away from his responsibilities, Dr. Reed. There is no need for you to be looking over my shoulder.
Thank you for your time.
But in the circumstances, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt.
Good evening, Mr. Fiddick.
Good evening, Dr. Reed. Any news about my operation?
Tell me about your injury, Harvey. Why do you feel so guilty about it?
My wife died because of me. And now I may lose everything because I've been careless enough to hurt myself. What an arsehole.
You can't hold yourself responsible for your injury, Mr. Fiddick, unless you tried to hurt yourself.
Of course I didn't hurt myself. But I can't work until my arm is fixed. My children need to eat, Doctor.
How could your job be responsible for your wife's death?
I was working a double. She went out to bring me a hot meal and got caught in a German bomb raid.
Tell me more about the death of your wife, Harvey.
1915. I was in the army, building workshops for the Royal Flying Corps. Helen was happy I wasn't sent to the front.
What happened?
The Germans sent Zeppelins to bomb the construction site, but they missed their target. My wife was bringing my dinner when the bombs fell.
How are your children after losing their mother?
They were smaller then. The only good thing about this is my Helen didn't bring them with her that night.
I'm sorry for your loss. So many died during the bombings. I served in France and witnessed the carnage there.
I would like to say that she didn't suffer. Truth is, I have no idea. I just know that I'm all that me kids have. Poor little bleeders.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Fiddick.
Sweet girl. Reads me like a book.
This hospital seems to be falling apart.
Good evening,
But in the
sir.
circumstances, I'm willing to give you...
Good evening, madam. Can I help you?
It's my son who needs you, sir.
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. How can I help your son?
I'm Beatrice Goswick, mother of Mortimer Goswick. Could you check on him, please, Dr. Reed? I've heard much of your talents as a physician.
What can you tell me about yourself, Mrs. Goswick?
Not much to say. Just take care of my Mortimer and I'll cover all the expenses. That's all that matters.
What can you tell me about your...
Not much to...
May I ask if you have an occupation, Mrs. Goswick?
I'm a teacher by profession. I teach young women who are more ambitious about their futures than their families.
Are you really that rich? Most of the patients here are of a more humble origin, if I may say so.
Yes. Thanks to my husband. May he rest in peace. I can cover any needed medical expenses.
What do you think of your reception here? Any complaints?
I have had the uttermost reservations about this hospital since we arrived. But we had no other choice, considering the state of emergency.
Is there something in particular that's bothering you?
Some of the staff were not especially welcoming. I suspect they're not accustomed to dealing with patients of such social standing.
Tell me more about your arrival at the Pembroke Hospital. What gave you such a bad first impression?
The ambulance driver was quite rude, for a start. And that nurse, Miss Hawkins, seems to have quite a dubious attitude. She managed to secure a bed for my son despite the epidemic. It was a relief, but it wasn't cheap.
I share your concern, Mrs. Goswick. Be sure that I'll talk to the people involved.
I don't expect compensation, Dr. Reed. But I'm aware such behavior would not be tolerated in other hospitals.
She charged you for a bed?
Yes, and I paid without question, considering the urgency of the situation.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick.
I'm all right. Don't waste...
Good evening. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I help at all?
No.
Really? Why are you here, then?
I don't want to talk. My throat hurts too much.
I suppose that this pain is the reason you're here. Is someone taking care of you?
Yes. And no.
Could you at least tell me your name, sir?
Mortimer. Mortimer Goswick.
How painful is your throat, Mr. Goswick?
So painful I'd rather not talk at all, Doctor.
I'll let you get some rest, then.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Miss...
I'm okay.
How...
So painful.
I'm sure you realize a doctor and his patient have to communicate, sir. Would it help if I gave you some paper and a pen?
Not really.
I see. Then maybe it's not just your throat that hurts, Mr. Goswick. Perhaps your sore throat is just the consequence of something more hurtful.
Yes, maybe. But I don't want to talk or even...
Why did your mother have you hospitalized here? She seems convinced this is a bad hospital.
My mother just wants the best for me. She won't rest while I'm here. She'd go all the way to hell and back to help me.
Is your mother bothering you? As your doctor, I can ask her to leave you alone if you would prefer.
That's tempting, Doctor. But you have no idea what my mother is capable of. She would tie herself to my bed if you asked her to leave.
Pembroke Hospital may look unorthodox, but rest assured you're in good hands here.
It's not me you have to convince, Dr. Reed. It's my mother.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Goswick.
I don't want to talk, Doctor.
I have to go now, sir.
I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me.
Good evening, Mr. Goswick. How are you?
I'm okay.
Do you need any help?
I'm afraid I may, sir. I don't mean to be a burden.
I will see you later.
I'm all right. Don't waste your time with me.
Good evening, Doctor.
Goodbye, Mrs. Goswick. Good evening, nurse.
Good evening,
Good.
Goodbye, Milton.
Not now.
This must be the place. It's definitely away from prying eyes. Relegated to the shadows. A kingdom of my own. At least I won't be sleeping in a coffin.
This dead flesh needs it.
Good evening, Milton.
Good evening, Doctor. Still...
I'd like...
Wise choice, Doctor.
Daily routine.
I wonder what your last thoughts would be, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Hampton. How do you feel?
Dr. Reed, is it? Oh, sir, I must apologize for my behavior.
What do you mean?
I was not myself in the factory. Fear and exhaustion made me say awful things to you, I'm afraid.
You remained perfectly nice and polite. A little delirious, perhaps. But who wouldn't be after enduring an abduction?
Thank you, Doctor. That's a relief. Now all I need to do is rest and return to my flock.
How did you end up in William Bishop's den?
I had received alarming news about his recent behavior. I went to his place and he refused to let me go.
You dared to enter this awful place alone. You're a hero, Mr. Hampton. Or a fool.
I'm just a man trying to help his friends, Dr. Reed. William Bishop was a conflicted soul, searching for light.
Why did he abduct you?
William was an alcoholic. His addiction suddenly changed to blood. I don't know why. Just like a patient I met here. This Miss Hawcroft.
Do you know Tom Watt? I met him before I found you in the canning factory.
Tom? Yes, of course. Always the helping hand, good old Tom. Without men like him, corruption and despair would have wiped out the East End long ago.
Who should I avoid in this part of town, then? Any particularly evil figures?
Not really. Most men and women are just doing their best. And it's not my habit to speak ill of people I know, Doctor.
People are still in despair.
How could it be otherwise? The authorities have left us all to rot in this contagious nightmare. No drugs, no advice, nothing. It's a damn shame.
What is the general situation in the East End docks?
The situation has always been tough, with a lot of tensions between the gangs and the dockers' trade union. The wet boot boys are very nervous since they lost their leader.
Has the gang been threatening you?
Ah, no. I've had this nickname for so long, you know, the sad saint of the East End. No one dares to bug a saint, not even criminals.
Who leads the gang now?
Since Clay Cox went missing, it's his wife Edwina who runs the show, with the assistance of her minion, Dooth Digby.
Have you made friends since you arrived?
Not really, but I recognize Miss Harriet Jones. I knew her when she lived by the docks. That poor woman had such a miserable life.
You never came to see her here at Pembroke? Receiving visits when sick can be an important part of the healing process, you know. We're not just bodies.
You're preaching to the converted now, Doctor. To be truly honest, I thought she was dead. She left the docks many months ago.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Hampton? I can't help but notice the cross around your neck.
I manage a night asylum for the poor and homeless of the docks. And I try to guide the lost and hesitant on the right path to our Lord.
Why didn't you use your cross against William Bishop? To repel him somehow?
That's a very strange question, Doctor. A cross is no magical token, if that's what you were trying to say. Not mine, anyway.
Are you a priest, Mr. Hampton? A deacon, maybe?
Not at all, Doctor. I'm just a man of faith willing to preach the good word.
How do you feel, Mr. Hampton? Medically speaking, I mean.
I feel exhausted. Beyond exhaustion, actually. William drank so much of my blood in his madness. I feel empty.
You're in good hands here. Dr. Swansea is well versed in blood transfusion, and I'm sure he'll take the best care of you.
Thank you, sir. I believe all I need is rest, and then I can go back to the people who need me.
Goodbye, Mr. Hampton. We'll talk again later. It's locked.
Thelma Howcroft said she was being watched by vampire hunters. Where are they hiding? I should investigate.
You'll pay for that!